Hello, my name is Del Pena. I am a first grade ASD teacher in the special education classroom. One of my biggest focus as an education teacher is providing an inclusive classroom environment, where all students are able to learn and meet their needs. Another important thing for me to do is just make everything that they learn meaningful to them and something that they can relate to. I feel like if they are able to relate to the content that I'm teaching them, they become more engaged and more interested. So one of the things that I do in my classroom that is crucial that I do is provide differentiated learning instruction. With providing differentiation, I'm able to work with every student and meet them where they are academically. For example, with one student I might do adding, addition, or subtracting, while with another student I might do counting numbers or identifying numbers. And it's important. This is something that's important to do, especially in a special education environment. Not every student is able to learn the same, and each student faces their own challenges when it comes to learning. So by providing differentiated instruction, I'm able to meet every student where they are academically. And this is something that's very important. It's also important to follow the IEP goals, and also a lot of special education students, they love visuals. So that's something that's important for me to provide is visuals. Showing them what I'm doing, what I'm teaching them. If it's counting, we use counters or pictures. I'll use that to give my lessons. So, for example, when it comes to visuals and providing visuals, in the book Design and Deliver by Louis Lord Nelson, it states, if you are implementing UDL during the American Revolution unit, you will have diagrams, pictures, maps, and other visual products created by you and the students to which you can refer to remind them of those discussions. So when it comes to my classroom, I can relate to this because when visuals are provided, like whether if you're reading a book, a story, or even doing a math lesson, just providing visuals gives the students a better understanding of what's going on, and it becomes easier for them to comprehend what you're teaching them. Another thing that I use are visual timers. So for example, when students are on break, I usually give them about 5 minutes of brain break. I'll put a timer up on the Promethean board, and then there they can see the time going down, and then they know what to expect. What's coming next. So I'll be like, okay, guys, 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to math or ELA, whatever activity I have next for them, and then they see the timer go down, and then they have that sense of a feeling of what they know what's coming next. And this is especially important, to have. So then they have that timer in their head. If they don't, I feel like it just gives them anxiety, and like uncertainty. It's important to have them feel comfortable, feel safe, and just having the timer up on the board, and provides that sense of sense of expectation and expecting what's expecting what's coming next. So as I stated, using visual supports is very important. We'll have a schedule up on my wall, so that each student can know what's coming next. Because with ASD students, it's important to have a routine with them, and just show them what's coming next. So we're doing math or ELA, they know that a break is coming up, a little 5 minute break, for them to relax their minds, get a little brain break, and then move on to our next activity. It just gives them a sense of knowing what's coming next and what to expect. Like how I stated, it's very important that they have that routine and consistency, in order to keep their day steady. Setting clear expectations and consistent schedule provides students with the proper need and expectation. So one thing that I also use in my classroom is technology. For example, my district's curriculum is unique. The unique learning system. which provides either paper assignments, or we could work through the lessons through our computers. Um, so sometimes I will provide the lessons through computers, or now print out the papers physically, and then have the students work on the worksheets that I provide to them. And this is a way to keep students engaged. Students love technology. I think everything just becomes more interesting to them when technology is involved. So another huge thing that's important for me, is collaboration. Collaboration with therapists, with families. This collaboration is one of the biggest things. Just having communication. Constant communication. I'm always in communication with the therapist, with the families. First, I'm gonna start with the therapist first. I love to work together with a therapist. We will provide each other feedback of what we're working on in the classroom, and then the therapist will provide me feedback what's going on in their one-to-one session of, whether it's speech, OT, or physical therapy, and also feeding therapy as well. So this is one thing that I enjoy doing as a teacher, is communicating with a therapist. See what I could do in the classroom to better help my students. With what they need more support with. And I'm also able to provide my recommendation to a therapist, of how a student is, what they should be working on, how they behave, if there's any behaviors, what they don't like, and just their interests in general. And then with families, this is probably one of the most important things as a teacher, is communicate with families. um, just to know what's going on at home, and let the parents know of how the child is doing in school, what things we could be working on at home, both at home and at school as well. Just with that consistency, it's nothing better than communication between the teacher and the parents. If there's communication with teachers and parents, it sets a better example, and it just provides a better opportunity that for students to have growth and show growth throughout the school year. So one thing that I would definitely like to improve on is just providing my students with more peer interaction. But with that, they have to have more prompting when it comes to that. With working with ASD students, a lot of them are more to themselves and don't really interact with other students. And it could be hard, when you have all ESE students and not one interacts with another. I do have one or two students that you know interact with other students, but it's very minimal. So me and my staff, we try as much as we can to prompt each student, and interacting with one another. And this is very important, for me as a teacher, to provide them with that opportunity to interact with other students and have a sense of communication and dialogue amongst each other. With all that being said, there's definitely are a lot of challenges that me and my staff face each and every day. Um, Mostly is due with a lot of time constraints. I try to do so much throughout the day. Try to provide my lessons. Through the unique learning system. Also doing the one-to-one trials with each student, manding. And at times it's hard to get through everything, but we do our very best. But that's one of the things that I feel like I need to work on, but it's hard because it's very time limited. And the only thing I could think of is just being faster at what I do. But then at the same time, it's like you want to provide each student with the best quality education as possible. I don't ever want to rush through things. I always want to take my time. And just do the best that I can. And that's something that I think about a lot. And it's hard to manage at times. When it comes to time, but it's something that I constantly think about, and how I can improve on that.